Welcome to the What I Wish I Knew After Pregnancy Loss podcast. I am your host, Shana Southern. I am an angel mum, a rainbow mum, a pregnancy loss practitioner, and trauma-informed coach. I created the Institute of Healing Through Pregnancy Loss out of my own experience with loss in the hopes to provide understanding and healing, educating people on pregnancy loss, and creating more women or men in trained support roles. In this podcast, I hope to shed light on what I wish I knew in relation to pregnancy loss, opening up the conversation, breaking the stigma, and bringing real-life stories plus guest experts. Thank you for being here with me today, and let's dive into today's episode. Hello, beautiful souls. Today's episode is part 2 of a 2-part podcast episode. So if you haven't already, I encourage you to go back and listen to part 1. And I hope that you find value in part 2 of this interview as well. Now let's dive in.
Yeah, and I'm so lucky because, when I do have to go for ultrasound or get blood work and stuff, those people, they have to ask you, sometimes they have to ask you, this is your first pregnancy, and you have to answer all these very triggering questions over again. And they'll even just ask, have you had a miscarriage? And like the first time round, I didn't even really think about it. And the second time round, I was just like, these are they ask about it. It's such a tick box question, but it's such a loaded question. And yeah, my first ultrasound that I had with this pregnancy, I had with the same tech that did my first ultrasound with Logan. And he was like, wow, you're back here soon. And I was like, yeah. And he looks at my husband and he's, oh, good for you, kind of thing. And it was really nice. And then he was like, how is the baby? And then I said, oh, actually, he passed away. He's, oh, okay. That's right. We'll just forget about that. And let's look at this. And Kevin and I looked at each other and we laughed because my husband is Asian, and we've noticed very much the cultural differences in dealing with grief. And there's a lot of kind of Asian cultures that when it comes to these kind of uncomfortable conversations, they like to sweep it under the rug. And all right, let's just forget about it, keep moving forward. And so we have that understanding, but I did end up I actually knew someone that worked at the ultrasound place, and I told her what happened because I was like, look, I'm not upset and this isn't a complaint, but I think you guys should consider training around how you guys navigate those conversations, because I can't be the only person that's coming in with this experience or something similar. And it's not, even though I laughed it off, if I didn't have more understanding of the cultural reactions to things like that, I would have gone home and been so upset. Like that would have thrown me off for a whole week, most likely. Yeah, and she was absolutely horrified because turns out her daughter passed away when she was 4. So she was very sensitive to my situation. And she was like, we're going to do something about that straight away. I'm like, don't worry, I trust you. You don't have to follow up with me, but I just know that you would be very upset to hear that's how someone was spoken to. But yeah, some of the things people say are just absolutely crazy to me. Like people say before Logan had even passed, like one of Kevin's aunties was like, don't worry, you'll have more children. And I was like, that's not the point. Also, my son's still alive. He's just upstairs. But these are things that people say thinking that it's comforting. And it's really not. And to think that having more children is going to replace the child you lost is just absolutely absurd.
Yeah, and I don't understand how they think that it's going to make you feel better, because it absolutely doesn't replace the child. That child that is no longer with you is always going to be in your thoughts. It's always going to be
Yeah.
in how you show up in your day-to-day life.
Yeah. It's funny though, you if your friend was to die, no one says, don't worry, you'll make more friends. Do you know what I mean? So why are people saying that when you've had pregnancy loss or neonatal death or you can't fall pregnant? It's just absolutely absurd.
Exactly. And to make a new friend would be a lot easier than just to have another baby.
Yeah, I'll just whip one up. No worries.
I'm like, your body naturally is against you for the most part. It's
Yeah, well,
fight
that's
off the
why I was so
sperm.
surprised I fell pregnant so quick
Yeah.
because I've learnt that grief slows that all down. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Obviously, your body just is working in a different way. It may be because of so much of the work that you were doing prior to
Mm,
your pregnancy. You were also helping, like you said, you were helping yourself mentally. So it wasn't
mm,
just physical, it was mental. There was a lot of stuff that you were helping and supporting yourself with
yeah,
that may have just naturally translated into you being able to support yourself in a certain way while you were grieving.
I think so. And I think if we didn't fall pregnant then, we would have probably had struggled later on as like grief really settled in. Because sometimes at the start, I don't know, you feel like you're living in the matrix. So it's like you're not really in reality. You're just like in this alternate universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is a really hard place, like you said, to hold both the grief and the joy. But it is
Mm,
absolutely valid to have both
mm,
and to witness both. And it's okay to witness both. It's okay to allow all of that in, because what you essentially want to happen is you want it to move through you. And the only way for it to move through you is
mm,
to allow it in, is to see it, is to go, well, at this moment, I am so freaking confused. On one part of me just wants to fall apart. I am like so heartbroken. The other side of me is so grateful and so happy to be in this position. But how
mm.
can you do that? Am I allowed to do that? Am I allowed to be grateful? Am I allowed to be happy when so much of me is still hurting?
Yeah. It
And
makes me think of what we were just talking about Inside Out.
yes,
How if it's the first one, how both joy and sadness touch a core memory. And I just relate to that so closely since Logan has passed. Like it just feels like every core memory now is touched by both joy and grief and sadness. And in a lot of ways, it's quite beautiful. And the way that Inside Out shows us, like, the joy wouldn't have existed without the sadness that came first, or because that
yeah,
sadness created that connection that then led to joy. And I think that is just such a beautiful way to explain what it's like going through loss and then having to go through pregnancy, or just going through loss and then going through life after that, because you do experience joy still. Sometimes you feel guilty about it, and then sometimes you feel just joy and you miss the sadness. Because when you don't have that sadness, it feels like they're further away.
mm,
So the sadness is almost like a companion that reminds you that no, this happened, he was here, it was real, it wasn't just something that you dreamt of. Because, yeah, when it comes to losing a baby or a pregnancy, it feels like sometimes other people are going to forget, or everyone else is just going to move on from it. But you never forget.
no. And there was also a line in the Inside Out movie where she jumps into the elevator to go down to where the core memories are down the bottom or something.
Yeah.
And she asks sadness to go in with her. And Sadness is, are you sure? And and Joy said, wherever I go, you go. And I'm just like, it, and like we said before, we press record. It's something, it's a visual representation that I'm able to help my daughter with to really understand the emotions. But for
Mm,
even us as adults, to
mm,
see how the emotions work together, to see how they can deepen the experience. And it's not just that you've got to push, like Joy at the beginning was trying to push sadness
mm.
away all the time. She was like,
Yeah.
no, it
Which
can't
we
be.
all do.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
We're so,
uncomfortable. We want to push it aside.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're so good at pushing away the discomfort. We don't want to feel it, so we'll just push it away. But we actually need, and that's again what the movie shows, you work as a team. You, all your emotions, to be human is to experience all of the emotions. But where we go wrong is when we start to push them inside, when we start to ignore them, dismiss them, tell them that they can't, they're not, they don't belong.
Yeah.
And that's when we start to run into issues with our physical health, with our mental health, with our emotional health. And they do present physically, they become a physical ailment or a
Mm,
dis-ease in your body. So when you were saying before, like you were worried about the emotions and your how it was all presenting and passing into your baby,
mm,
that does happen too. But when we choose to not help ourselves through those moments, that we have a buildup of stress chemicals, emotions, that really stagnant energy that ends up getting passed in directly into, and the trauma, unprocessed trauma, gets passed directly into our baby.
I couldn't agree more. And the way I see it as well, if I don't let it exist now, then what kind of person am I going to be once baby is here? Because those feelings are just going to
Yeah.
intensify, and I'm going to be sleep deprived and going through all those other things that new mothers go through. A lot of people get postpartum depression anyway, but imagine also then having suppressed all this grief and sadness and anger. But my husband and I both said from the start, like, we're just going to witness it. We're going to let it exist. We're going to let it come out when it needs to. And I've been very proud of my husband. Like he said, like he went back to the gym. I can't believe it. Like 2 weeks after Logan passed, but he said he would cry between sets. This like huge guy in the middle of the gym, just crying his eyes out. And I was like, I'm really proud that you're like comfortable to do that. He goes, yeah, if people knew my story, they would understand why I'm crying. If they don't know, then that's fine. But most people know anyway. And I'm here trying to move through what I can with the tools that I have. And if anything, people should see that as a strength. And I'm like, wow, I'm so impressed by your confidence. He's always been such a confident person, which has helped me a lot as well. Yeah, it's incredible. And people will say to you, you're such an incredibly strong person. And I remember my cousin had said that to me before his daughter passed, but Logan has passed. And and then when I saw him at Millie's funeral, I said to him, "You don't know how strong you are, but you're about to find out." And I think you really don't know how strong you can be until you don't have a choice. I hope most people never have to find out how strong they are when you don't have a choice. Like you just gotta, I mean, you can decide to ignore it, but you're just gonna cause a bigger problem down the road for yourself. So if you can just allow it to exist and to have the courage to face it head on, then you will find yourself moving through it in a way that you thought was impossible.
I think that is so powerful because it is so true. We do need to witness it and we need to meet it head on. It's never going to be comfortable. Like those feelings, the experience, it's not comfortable. But like you said, you end up moving through it in a way that you thought was like never possible. It
Mm,
was or beyond like your comprehension. Like you feel like this is going to be something that you're going to be in forever,
yeah.
but it's not, and it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, when we were leaving the hospital, I just remember thinking like that, what is my life going to be like now? Because I knew I couldn't go back to childcare. It was just the thought of going back to working with kids, just too much for me to take on, to even consider. But then it's like, what am I going to do with myself? And then when I started writing, and I was like, oh, I'm going to do something about this, which is just an incredibly brave thing for me because to me that was always my impossible dream. Because when I was at school, I loved to write, loved it, but I couldn't spell very well. I have a lot of traits that align with dyslexia. I've been screened for it, and screened positive for it, but haven't been officially diagnosed. Something I've been meaning to do, but just
There's other
something I never.
things. Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, is it really going to change my life
Yeah.
now? Because it wasn't something that we was followed up until I was like 18. I went through all of school presenting with all the very classic dyslexic symptoms, but no one ever suspected it. So yeah, I really liked to write, but my grades were so up and down because it depended on what the topic was. It was something creative, nailed it. Something to do with reading and spelling, absolutely flopped it. And then when I went to the guidance counselor and said I wanted to write, she was like, okay, well, if you want to write, you have to go to university and you have to bring up your grade. And I said, and you need to try harder at school. And I was like, it's not a matter of me trying harder. So I guess I'm going to have to do something else. So that's when I went to see the TAFE coordinator, and they were like, "Oh, what do you want to do?" Because I needed to make up my units, and I didn't want to take. I think it was like ancient history or like commerce. Like there was only these like all these topics I just really didn't want to do. So I was like, "You got to give me something." I need to make up my units, and then I was just like, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know, I want to help people." So then they gave me an option of welfare and childcare. And I said, oh, I don't want to work with kids. I'll go do welfare. So I did welfare, loved it, left school. And then I started studying disability care. And then I did youth work. And then I went on and did community services. And I finished all those by the time I was 18. And then I went out into the world and wanted to do youth work, and no one would hire me because I was the same age as their clients, pretty much. So I was like, oh, you know what? All right, I'll give childcare a go and I'll wait, get some experience, wait till I'm a bit older and make the transition. And then I ended up loving it, loved working with kids. They're so funny and intuitive and creative, and they bring out such a light inside of you, and I just loved it. And then I just kept getting promoted. I started running my first childcare center when I was 22, and I took care of 90 kids, about 12 staff. That then grew to 110. And yeah, just kept like climbing the ladder doing that. And when I think when Kevin and I got married, we then did the Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within, and that was the first time I told Kevin that I liked to write. First time. We'd been together
Yeah.
for 5 years, and he never knew that about me. And so then he was like, "You got to go do something about it." So I studied novel writing, and I did that all through my pregnancy with Logan. I worked full time, studied full time, and did all that other stuff that I was doing. And yeah, but then when Logan passed away, I had just a little bit of my course left. I finished that, thank goodness. But then, yeah, I just felt this like calling to do children's books. And even when we're just talking then about Inside Out, there's so many. And even before we started the podcast, you're telling me about the book that Poppy's reading about the brain. There's just so much great child literature and movies, and the way that these things are created are just so beautifully done, and they stick with you for so long. And that's something that I really wanted to be a part of. And now that we're doing this, it's just absolutely incredible, because I never thought not only would I actually publish a book, but then start my own business. Someone that doesn't even know their times table. They struggle with numbers and letters, to them opening a business and doing this and that, and doing it so fearlessly. Because honestly, there was this moment this day where I was out walking the dogs after Logan had passed, and I was listening to music, which I haven't really done since Logan passed, because I find music very triggering. But I was listening to a song and I came through the door, came home bawling my eyes out. And I remember saying to Kevin, and I was like, I know what real fear is, and I don't think anything can be as scary as being told that your son's not going to make it. And I'm just go anytime something scares me, I'm now just going to compare it to that, and it's going to feel like it's absolutely
Insignificant.
nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's actually been such a helpful way to just go, I'm just going to do it anyway. Because at the end of the day, what's the worst thing in the world? Oh, you lose all your money. When I was in the hospital, I wanted to give away all my money, all my possessions, if it was going to save my son's life. Because I was like, you know what? We'll always make more money. We can always do something, or we can live with my parents, whatever. It really puts things into perspective. You may as well give it a go, because at the end of the day, there are ways to get around things.
One in 4 pregnancies will result in miscarriage. 1 in 8 women will experience infertility. 1 in 100 women will experience recurrent miscarriage. And 1 in 160 births end in stillbirth. Have you been wanting to make a difference in the lives of women or men who have experienced pregnancy loss because you can see so many suffering in silence, but you just don't know how? Collectively, we can change how bereaved parents can access mental, physical, and emotional support after their experience. There is a lot of women with unhealed trauma, and there is a huge gap in the current support system when it comes to bereaved parents' recovery after loss. There are too many women and men suffering in silence. The Pregnancy Loss Practitioner Certification is a worldwide, one-of-a-kind program that gives you proven methods designed for healthcare professionals, medical staff, midwives, nurses, doulas, birth workers, coaches, and angel parents alike. The Pregnancy Loss Practitioner Certification is bridging that gap. It will give you a proven support structure to follow and education specific to pregnancy loss, created by a lost mum. It is creating more education specifically for loss so that you can enhance your service and become the point of difference. Or you can create the support that you so desperately needed in your healing after loss. This is the next level of growth and expansion you have been searching for. So does this sound like something that you have been searching for? Let's explore this more together. You can head to the episode show notes where you'll find the program application, or direct message me on Instagram and let's open up the conversation in how you can use this education. You have a gift, and I look forward to supporting you and witnessing you bring your gift to the world, healing and transforming women's lives.
Yep, absolutely. 100% agree.
Yeah, it's so funny because once upon a time, losing all your money, losing your house seems like the worst thing in the world. But then you lose a child and all of a sudden that doesn't seem too bad anymore.
You could live
Yeah.
on a cardboard box as long as you had your family.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
hopefully it'll never come
no.
to
Hopefully it never does for anyone. I
it.
wouldn't
No,
I wouldn't want that for anyone.
no.
But I totally agree with you. It puts things into perspective. And I think I remember talking to you about it when you came and we were in person, was you don't want to get to the other end of your life with a wish list and go, oh, I wish I have had the courage to take after that. I wish I had the courage to do that thing or say yes to that passion. Or you don't want to get to that point and say, I wish I had have lived. Like
Yeah,
without
I
the fear.
remember so clearly before Logan passed, Kevin and I were just looking at him and going, we're really mourning about all the things he could have been and could have done and what should have been. And then we both looked at each other and said, God, what should we be doing? What potential are we taking advantage of? What opportunities are we letting go by?
Mm.
Because we all of a sudden realized that it would almost be an insult to his memory to not take opportunities and not to go after what you want when he never even got the chance to.
It's such
So,
a beautiful way to look at it. Like, and to do what you're doing with his memory emanating through you
yeah.
and through all that you're creating, which I think is perfect if you want to tell people what you're doing and where they
Yeah.
can find you.
Yeah. Yeah. So we are Logi Bear Books. So that's named after Logan. That was his nickname from when he was in the room. He was always our little Logi Bear. And we we have our first book, our debut book, due to re-release on the 7th of October on Amazon. Please go and buy it on the day that it's launched. We would love to hit the Amazon bestsellers list so that people can see our books and that we can just reach as many people and families as we can because this is a much needed resource. I have based a lot of the themes of the book not only on true authentic experience but on what research knowledge I've learned about grief and how to move through grief, how to understand where having a sense of where someone is in space and time and how your relationship now exists. It's not a religious book. We do mention heaven, but that is more of a concept rather than a direct religious tie. So it is suitable for anyone from any kind of faith background. Even if you're atheist, you will probably resonate with this story because it's also living through memories and feeling connections with nature or feeling them when you see a sunset or a sunrise. It is so much more than being like tied down to a specific belief. And it's very adaptable no matter what your family values are. So yeah, that's available 7th of October. We also have our in-person book launch happening on the 2nd of November. Come down, it's at the Etamoga at Kellyville Ridge from 12 to 3. You'll get to meet me and my sisters. I'll be very pregnant, but I will still come and talk to you. I'll sign your book. We will have face painting, rock climbing, picnic games. We'll have live musician. We have Alex Toole from the Little Quirks, is a local band. And yeah, we're very excited to be releasing this book. You can head to our website, which is logibearbooks.com.au, or you can connect with us on Instagram or Facebook. And that's just Logi Bear Books.
It's amazing. I'm so excited. It all sounds super exciting for this now tail end of your journey. Obviously, so much has gone into it. I met you and Nina almost a month ago now.
Oh gosh, really? Was that,
It was
was
at the
that
beginning
long
of
ago?
August, sometime.
Oh, it was too. My
Oh, probably
goodness.
3 weeks. But
Yeah,
to go from being able to chat with you now then and seeing where you are now and being so close, like you said, you were so busy wrapping everything up, getting ready for the launch. And I am so excited for you to be using your experience, but also your background with working with children to bring this to life, because we do need to have these conversations with kids in a way that kids are going to understand it. And they're very literal as well. Like we need to, sometimes being an adult, it's so hard to communicate because we think we have to say it a certain way or do it a certain way. So the way that you've written the book will absolutely help in
yeah,
having
it's
these
at
hard.
least a great starting point
Mm,
because even my beta test readers, one of the beta test readers said, because one of the questions was, do you think, what conversations do you think this will open up for a family? And he wrote in, I never want to have this conversation with a child. And it's true. These aren't conversations you want to have with children, but these are conversations that they might want to have with you.
yes.
We had another beta test reader say, I wish someone had this conversation with me as a child because I was actually traumatized by the loss that I experienced when I was a child and no one spoke to me about it. So if you don't know how to navigate these conversations, sit down, read the book, then just let them ask you questions. Let them lead the conversation. Even my cousin's children, other cousin, another cousin, children has been asking a lot about death. And even though they didn't have personal relationships with Logan or Millie, they were very curious about what happened. They had lots of questions about it. And then when she did the beta test run with it, they loved the book. They listened to it. She said 9 times in a row. She listened to the recording. Wasn't even illustrations yet. And then she became obsessed with Diego because this story is told through the eyes of the dog. And she was just like, where does this Diego sleep? What does he like to do? So the main character being a dog really softens the story as well. But he still carries this very childlike innocence of wondering where Millie has gone. So he actually goes on a physical journey thinking that's what will find her.
Yeah, without giving too much away. Like it
Without
sounds
giving
like
too much. Yeah.
it absolutely sounds, because that's the thing, that's where the kids' minds go. If you say that someone has just passed, they're like legit, where'd they pass? Where did I miss them? So it's not like
Yeah.
you have to, so like for the dog to go on the journey to see where they went, it's a very literal journey that the child goes on if you don't use certain words to describe what actually happened. A child's okay, maybe I'll just go for a walk and I'll see if I'll pass them.
Yeah. Because if you think about how even a baby, when you play peekaboo, they think you completely disappear.
Yeah.
And they don't understand till they're a bit older that no, you're just behind your hands. And it's a similar kind of situation when someone passes. It's, you know, that they're not here, but you can still feel them. And in a way, they're still there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's beautiful. And again, I think like I said, it's so very needed. So absolutely, if this conversation, if anyone's listening in, it has resonated with you, please do find Holly's website or her social media. They'll be linked in the show notes below. Connect with her, buy the book. And I think even if you don't have anyone to read it to, even just having that knowledge and awareness for yourself anyway through that book is going to be so beneficial to you in having any conversation with anyone outside of, whether it's family or friends and their kids, or in anything that you're doing. So yeah, I could talk to you forever again, Holly. We have been talking for quite a
I
while
know.
now.
I know.
So
I think you're going to have to split it into 2 episodes.
But I do want to I do want to acknowledge you for bringing awareness to neonatal death. I didn't realize how many were happening every day in Australia, and that's so many women that are grieving, so many women that are suffering and who do need support and who do need understanding, and especially if there is other living children within their family units or within close family units to be able to have these conversations. Because, with baby loss, most of the time, the child, if there is other children in the family, they do see their brother or sister, or there are other siblings that are close that are going to be wanting to know what happened. I want to thank you for bringing awareness to that and to the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much for allowing me to share my story and share what we're doing at Logi Bear Books, because we really do hope that it will help families and help aid them through the grief process and the healing process.
Yeah, absolutely. And it will. A book absolutely will. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you to all that have listened in. If this episode was valuable to you, I invite you to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and I look forward to supporting you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening in with me today. I hope you found this episode helpful. If you did, I would absolutely love to hear from you. Take a screenshot of this episode, share it to social media, and tag me at instituteofhealing_PL. I love seeing what is resonating with you right now. If you want to chat further, I invite you to connect with me through Instagram. Head over and follow my Instagram account, send me a DM, and let's open the communication. If you want to know more about how you can be the support for others, head to the show notes and fill out the application form for the Pregnancy Loss Practitioner certification. I want to also note here that what I share within the episodes is not medical advice. If you need further support, please consult your doctor. Thank you again. Much love to you. Be gentle with yourself, and I look forward to supporting you on the next episode.